Africa live from the Voice of America studios here in Washington. It's Wednesday, November 10th. I'm Esther Githui. Guest host for today with the man of the hour, or should I say the man of the decade, Shaka Ssali. Today, we mark 10 years of Voice of America Straight Talk Africa as we reflect back on the show and how it has impacted the African continent. Now, Shaka, can you believe it's been 10 years, and how did it all begin?
It's been an incredible journey, Esther. There's no question about that. It obviously began in Kabale, a small town in southwestern Uganda, until I walked my way eventually to Washington, D.C., suggested this incredible idea, and the rest is history.
Wow, interesting. And we're going to see much more about you for the last 10 years. Well, Shaka, let's take a look then at the past 10 years and the history of the program from those who were there and see how it all got started.
Hello, I am Shaka Ssali. Growing up in that...
Straight Talk is a show that tries to connect with the ordinary people back in Africa.
We're looking for the story in Africa that week.
And held a mock election.
Straight Talk Africa began in the year 2000. It was the Africa Division's first television program.
There were a core group of 3 or 4 of us.
Thank you.
Roll that bit of practice, please.
It took a lot to put the show together. The cameraman, the studio people, other show producers, the people who ran the time clocks, the people who did the chyrons, the graphics.
We were in Studio 18. It was a radio studio with television cameras added. It was marrying 2 related but not identical concepts. And the result was Straight Talk Africa.
Hello, welcome to Straight Talk Africa, live from the Voice of America studios here in Washington. Initially, of course, we were getting into what you would say is uncharted territory. We didn't know, for example, the audience would react or respond to what we were trying to do.
We didn't have much clout because people didn't know who we were, so to try and get influential guests was very difficult at the time. It worked because Shaka was such a good host and he knew so many people.
Also urged them.
Before hosting the show, I had done a lot of work on the continent. I was reasonably well informed as far as the history, the culture, the politics, the economics of the continent. Political independence, which is back in 1957.
As we expanded our storylines and our realms, the show grew.
What do you expect out of this?
When I was back in Uganda, I watched the very first show. I was like, you know what, this is something that Africans have been looking forward to.
What about your critics, Mr. President, who will disagree with you and say your policies simply have not delivered the economic goods?
Because at the time, there were a couple talk shows, but there was nothing that was really dedicated to talking about the issues.
Issues that affect people on a daily basis. To vote for independence, we're talking about, for example, the democratization process, the struggle for human rights. Since 2005, we have been assured that there is going to be an election. No election. A lot of things, frankly, that people rarely have an opportunity to be able to have a dialogue or to have a conversation.
Okay. All right, thanks, Shaka. Before we pause for a short break, we would like to thank all of our Straight Talk Africa Facebook fans, over 2,000 of you now. If you want to become a Facebook fan and connect with other friends of the Voice of America on the social networking website, just put in the keyword Straight Talk Africa. Shaka, let's begin. You have had those memorable moments in this show. It's been 10 years, and I know it's virtually impossible to even highlight what you've gone through in the past 10 years. Perhaps you have some of those very memorable moments in this show that you would like to share today as we celebrate 10 years of Straight Talk Africa.
I guess, first of all, I'd like frankly to say that I am profoundly honored and exceedingly humbled to have the opportunity to be hosted by you on Straight Talk Africa.
Wow.
Because the last time I remember being on your show was when you used to host the Africa Journal, the sister program of Straight Talk Africa. So it's very nice to see you in Studio 51, Esther.
Thank you very much. It's hard shoes being here, but let's see how it goes.
Well, it's been quite an incredible journey, as I said at the outset. And I have to say, frankly, that I have been incredibly blessed. I was lucky in the sense that after having done some analytical work, as you remember, on Africa Journal, that I requested for a talk show. I came up with an idea that was also pushed by my colleague, by the way, Ashanafe Abejo of English to Africa, and Ted Roberts. And then later I had an opportunity to sit with director Sande Anga back, I remember it was Christmas, in fact, of 1999. I'd just come back from the African continent, where I had had the opportunity to interact with about 6 presidents, including 2 who were very difficult to access. One of them being your president at the time, you know, President Daniel Arap Moi. And he gave me an incredible interview, and he looked terrific. I also had an interview with late Laurent Desire Kabila in Lubumbashi. An interview that I secured about 2 weeks, I remember, having stayed in Kinshasa for more than a week, not being able to meet anybody. So it's been quite a very interesting journey, frankly, with a lot of challenges and a lot of opportunities. I have learned a lot of things by simply sitting in that chair where you are, and a lot of other chairs, of course, because we've been like broadcasting nomads, if you will. We started with Studio 18, we moved on to Studio 47, and we are here in 51. Who knows where we'll be next time?
But we look forward to many more years of Straight Talk Africa. And maybe, Shaka, you can probably share with the viewers, because some of them have been loyal. They are actually almost synonymous with this show. They call every Wednesday. They tune in. They have a date with Straight Talk Africa, so to say. Have you had an opportunity perhaps to talk to them on the phone or to meet them in person when you visit the continent of Africa?
Yes, I've had, in fact, an opportunity, especially to meet with a gentleman by the name Suleiman Mugula, who resides somewhere near Durban in South Africa. We met a couple of times. The first time we met is about 2 years ago. As a matter of fact, in Durban, we had dinner in Durban, in KwaZulu-Natal province. Not being Shaka, of course, there are people who think that I'm Shaka the Zulu, and I keep saying, of course, I'm not Shaka the Zulu, because if I were Shaka the Zulu, you know, Esther,
you would
where
have
I would
a kingdom,
be.
eh?
Yeah, so I met Suleiman Mugura. We had dinner. We met again in Pretoria last year, so I've had an opportunity to do that. I also met, you know, Samuel Musinguzi from Ruti, a suburb of Mbarara, southwestern Uganda. We talked on telephone so many times, and one time I was in Kampala at the Kampala Serena, as a matter of fact. He wanted to come and see me, but unfortunately time was not our best ally, so we haven't been able to meet. Then there is Tesfai, the man from Missouri. We've talked a lot. We have not met. I remember I wanted really to look at his picture. I asked him, I said, Tesfai, why don't you send us a picture so that the audience can interact with you? He said, you know, Shaka, not until that dictatorship in Asmara is out of that place am I going to share my picture.
Perhaps we might see his picture soon. Who knows?
Yes.
We'll probably talk to him
then
as well.
Then, of course, there is, you know, Oble Chindefu, Lusaka, Zambia. Very, very loyal. We've talked so many times on telephone, but we've never had an opportunity to meet.
But it's not always been smooth sailing. There are days that are more challenging than others. Sometimes you probably expect a guest.
Oh, yeah.